This is the Daily Technology Pulse podcast from Daily Computers, the preferred technology provider for public and private sector organizations throughout Maryland and Virginia. Today's episode is brought to you by HP, America's most trusted printer brand for government, education, and enterprise. Visit daily.com/MPS to learn more. And now here's your host, Rick from Daily.
Joining us today on the Technology Pulse, I have Chris DiReda. He is the Partner Business Manager for Print for HP. Chris, welcome to the Technology Pulse podcast.
Rick, thanks, and thanks for the time today. Look forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. And Chris, I have to tell you, this is an absolute perfect time to be having this conversation because there are a lot of amazing things happening in Daily's universe and HP's universe surrounding print. And I think the biggest challenge that we have right now is that so many people, when they think of print, when they think of managed print, they remember nightmares, horror stories, whatever you want to call it. They're remembering kind of what print was. Now, I'm sure you've got your take on that. So what was managed print back in the day?
Yeah, sure. And my background, Rick, you may or may not know, started out in service. So, from fixing printers to helping organizations streamline their print devices, I've evolved ever since it first started. But where it was really the thought track when it first came out was hey, we need to rip these devices out, we need to replace them, and we can help you. All without really understanding the cost involved that the customer went through to first acquire those devices, right? They also thought that back then that it was better to have all these printers go away and MFPs take their place because they were bigger, they could handle everything. But as we've grown, that's changed because, as you may know now, it's a mix of both printers and MFPs, plus a host of other services that really make up managed print today.
And in MFP, that stands for multifunction?
Yeah, multifunction devices. The standard walk-up copier in the days when managed print started, where we first got into the network technology. That's when managed print really first started, when devices became networked.
Right. And now managed print just takes on a whole new, I guess we'll say biosphere. It's a whole new ball game out there.
Well, it's everything we just talked about, right? But more precise to help you streamline efficiencies. And what do I mean by that? Is it's not about rip and replace now. It's about how are you using devices? It's the device utilization that's important to vendors like a Daily who go out and support managed print, right? It's important for vendors to understand the employee productivity requirements, right? And what helps them make them do their job better. What are they printing to devices? What are these business efficiencies, right? This all comes into play. Workflows is the big buzzword nowadays, right? Because of all the software that's in the cloud. How are those documents moving around the office to make both the employee efficient and more productive? Which, when you do that in today's managed print world, you drive down cost and you drive out cost because you are really utilizing everything at your fingertips, where before it wasn't the case. It was just about the hardware and the toner, right?
Right.
And then last but not least, the challenges that customers have today that really fold right into managed print is around digitization. And how do we digitize these documents and not print them, right? That is
exactly
the goal, right? And then when you take that aspect of it, you really have to be under control around security. So around print security and securing that IP, which is the intelligence of every organization and what their business is founded on. That gets exposed today, and so does the business, and good things don't come from that. So when you talk about what it is now, it's all of everything we've spoken about.
Right. And what a lot of people don't realize these days, printers, scanners, the MFP devices, they're not just pieces of hardware. They are a backdoor into a network, right?
Yeah, think about this, right? The devices that we're talking about in print today, just like your PC, they have a hard drive. They're connected to the network, right? What do
Right.
you do with devices like that today, your PCs? You protect them fully. That's what antivirus is all about, right? They're behind the firewall. You protect them even further. Well, our PCs, they have memory, they have a hard drive, they're connected to the network, they act just like a PC.
And the thing that scares me, particularly with a lot of these MFPs, you'll get people that come in and say, "Oh, I just need to print something. Can I plug my USB drive into here?" Now, if somebody asked to plug a USB drive into my computer, I would immediately say no. But for some reason, we think that doing that on a printer is perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Well, I will tell you devices, and I can't speak for every manufacturer, but with HP specifically, you've got to enable that. It does not come on the USB access on these printers. You have to turn them on. All right.
Okay.
Which then, as an organization, you're intelligently making that decision to allow that, and potentially allowing I like to call them bad actors, right?
Yes.
To impose a file and bring that onto the device, which in turn can get onto your network, right? So yeah, you got to be protected, and that's just one of the little ways to get protected.
Right, right. And that's one of the things that, we've consistently heard from our customers, from our partners when it comes to HP. I mean, the security that you guys have invested in with HP Wolf Security. And then again, it's not just for computers, it's also for these devices as well. Having that, it just provides even more peace of mind.
One of the things I try to explain, whether it's a small business, right, and you're just having a conversation because they have a device or two, or whether it's a large corporation, I try to draw an analogy to, you've got HP technology sitting on the desktop that you use for your business every day. Those laptops are there for a reason. You believe in the technology. It's not only as efficient, but you have all the security metrics you need to protect your business, right? Those security metrics that HP's put into that technology is pretty much the foundation of the same technology around security that goes into the print devices. Not a lot of manufacturers can say that today.
No, and that's true. That's true. And it really does help when you've got that same level of security on your PC that's also on your print device.
HP's invested a tremendous amount of intelligence into that, and we are all about protecting the hardware, the documents, and your data.
And now, one other thing I wanted to mention I wanted to bring up that you had mentioned before, you talked about managing costs. And when it comes to managing costs on these devices, I mean, I don't think a lot of people really understand just how exactly that works, because we've had that conversation. Daily representatives talk to people and they say, we can help you manage your print costs. And they sort of sit there and their eyes sort of glaze over and say, "Oh, you're just going to fix the price for my toner cartridges or what?" And they don't really understand how exactly that works. And again, how it is transitioned from a closet full of stuff that you may or may not ever use.
Yeah. Well, and it does, right? From, it's efficiencies around the supply items getting to you. It's and cost savings around that. It's efficiencies around, you're right, the toner, getting you into devices that make sense, that can produce a lower cost per print. But it's also about managing output. And what I mean by that is a lot of organizations, I'm sure anybody listening to this and you yourself, you've walked by devices and you've seen paper that have been copied and sitting on an exit tray. unused documents that were printed that organization paid for. Total waste. So now what organizations are doing, and part of MPS programs, is what we call print release or secure print release. These are just one of the opportunities in which an organization can reduce their print cost overall, which falls under that managed umbrella. And what do I mean by that? Is sending a print job over to a printer or an MFP, and then going over there because you need to print it now, release it, it prints, you get the documents off the glass or the exit tray, if you will, and you walk to your meeting or presentation or whatever, you've printed out exactly what you needed. I cannot tell you how many organizations we will track and monitor, or organizations like Daily will track and monitor unused documents that were unnecessarily printed. There is a tremendous amount of waste involved in that. So with secure release, you may send a job over there, but never have to print it. Did it cost you anything? No, it never printed. Another way, which I find interesting, is a lot of our devices today that you'll see, and as part of Daily's MPS, is that you can set devices, MFPs up to what I like to call suppress blank pages. In today's MPS world, if a document prints and it prints a blank page, you're paying for that cost per page, whether there's ink on it or not. So in concepts of what you can do with HP technology is you can turn that on so that way, if it notices a blank page, it doesn't print it.
Now that's amazing. And I have to think that would save organizations just, again, so much time and so much effort, because there are a lot of times people just don't realize it. You know, I'm a former editor myself in the print world, print journalism, and we would always get documents from people, and it would have what we would call ninja formatting. Yeah, I'm the guy who in Microsoft Word has my invisibles turned on because I want to see everything that's going on there. But there are a lot of people that don't do that. And then the next thing you know, you type one little character and it pushes stuff down, and it pushes it down an entire page. And then that's, like you said, you have one whole blank page that you didn't mean to have, and it messes up your entire document.
Well, that's important in a couple of different ways, this blank page stuff, right? And I say that because from a scanning standpoint, a blank page will take up space on your hard drive, right? And think about that. Now, in copying, sometimes if you're copying books, you may need that blank page for the end of a chapter. Okay, you can take it out. You can leave it in. But if you're copying just for the sake of printing certain documents, that blank page is not needed. Let's eliminate it, right? So these are all just ways that a proper examination of managed print program can help an organization cut costs.
So, Chris, I think that visibility is another big thing that organizations don't really pay attention to. You know, again, you're talking about sending a document to the printer that may not need to be printed. There are a lot of other times where stuff gets printed for whatever reason and, you know, really shouldn't have gotten printed. I have seen people who work from home offices. They use the same computer at home as they do at work. You come into work, you meant to print something on your home printer. It's your child's 11-page book report. And the next thing you know, boom, there goes your book report printing on the company printer or on the organization printer. And you're sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, now everybody's going to, first of all, they're all going to read an 11-page book report. But second of all, it goes right back to that tremendous waste. You know, I have to think that, again, organizations having that visibility, having the ability to stop these sort of things, making sure that employees aren't printing when they're not supposed to be printing, have to be very valuable.
It is, right? There are third-party softwares, right, that overlay in an MPS program that vendors like Daily will utilize to put into their MPS program. And that's where that secure release or follow me printing will also take place, right? Where you can't really make a mistake and send it to a printer that you know are not going to be near to get those prints, right? Let's say I thought I was printing to my office, right? But I ended up printing to my home office. Nowadays, it'll go up to the cloud with the right software, and you walk into your office, you scan your badge, and it'll ask you, would you like these print jobs to be printed? Why? Because it resides in the cloud with all your jobs. You prioritize what you want. This is how employees become more productive in the print space and print only what they need. Because some of those documents, you may not, even though you sent them to the printer, you may not need anymore. 50, 10-page, 20-page, 50-page document. If you happen to print it and have it sitting on the exit tray when you got there and you really didn't need it, that's a lot of money every day or every time you go and print that you would be saving.
So now I'm really hoping that by listening to this, some of these organizations out there who have been really fearful of the idea of managed print are starting to be a little less worried. The trepidation is starting to diminish a little bit because they're starting to see some of these benefits. And I mean, again, you have conversations with these people day in and day out. What exactly do you tell them to get their panic scale from a 10 down to a 2?
One of the, that's a real important question. And a lot of times when a customer makes a selection of a vendor in an MPS program, right? Because they're trying to evaluate all vendors and how they align. And when they pick the best one, they pick the best one for a lot of different reasons, right? And that committee is part of the evaluation, usually in a customer's environment. It could be 2 people, it could be 10 people, right? It's important for the client to pick a focal or a lead, right? Who will take ownership on their side, because really where the value comes to ease the trepidation, right, if you will, of managed print is in the reporting capabilities that an MPS program provides. Being able to see exactly what I don't want to say you're saving, but the concept of what you evaluated and made your decisions on, all in the reporting come to life, knowing how those checklists can be applied to say, hey, Mr. Vendor, you're doing a great job. We're meeting our goals. Or, hey, Mr. Vendor, can we improve this and tweak this a little bit? And what can you do to help us out to change whatever we need to change to get better at it? That reporting capability is what's giving a lot of customers the peace of mind. We didn't have that in the beginning of MPS. Right. We now have a fine-tuned output.
And that's fantastic because data is key. Mm-hmm. Data is key everywhere. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. That the data just was never there before to make these intelligent decisions. And now the data is available to make multiple decisions based on, like you said, how much you're printing, how much is getting printed in color versus, black and white. What's your turnover time on your toner cartridges.
One of the interesting tidbits in some of the software, and if you're into sustainability, mm-hmm. right, as an organization, these reports will even kind of align with and give you information about what you've saved in that arena.
Really?
Yeah. So I would like to say they're getting more detailed about it. All right. But there are some information components that come back from the reporting that can align with any sustainability practice.
And that's huge because it's not just about dollars and cents.
Yes.
It's not just about dollars and cents these days. But when you're talking about dollars and cents, how do you like that transition?
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. It does come down to that as a bottom line.
It really does. It really does. And when you're talking about dollars and cents, you always have to talk about, all right, so how are we going to procure these devices? Now, that is one thing that I have to say that Daily and HP do very well, is they make sure that our customers have a multitude of contract vehicles that they can purchase on. Yep. And I know that there are a couple of really big ones, in Maryland and Virginia. What do you normally see as far as the contract vehicles that you're seeing a lot of this MPS activity on?
There are 3 that are critical to I would imagine the customers in your service area, right? Number one is the Vita contract. Number two is VCCS, which is the Virginia Community College Services contract. I think that was just recently, I don't want to say, I think it was awarded not too long ago. Vita's been in place for a little while now. And then MEEC, MEEC out of Maryland.
Yes. Yep. The Maryland Education Enterprise Consortium.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yep. And one of the great things that I don't think a lot of people understand, anybody can buy off of these contract vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a state government agency in Maryland, you can buy off the MEEC contract. If you are, a public safety organization in Virginia, you can buy off of Vita. You can buy off of VCCS. These contract vehicles are always open. And, a lot of people don't recognize that. They don't realize that, oh, well, I don't necessarily fit into that bucket, and you don't really have to. And that's one of the things that Daily really prides itself on. Now, I have to say this, there are a lot of people that are going to sit there and say, okay, so now I'm starting to get excited about managed print. At least we hope they are. How do I even begin this? Because if you're not in a managed print situation and then you want to go to one, I can almost see it being, that's when your panic scale starts to go from the 2 back up toward the 10, because you start saying, wow, it's, now I'm trying to jump the Grand Canyon in a golf cart. And that seems a little scary. What can we do to ease their minds on this? How would they get started in MPS?
Sure. Jumping onto that side of the fence, right? As a vendor and manufacturer, we're on one side, the customer's on the other side of the fence when it comes to MPS. And what we need to do is come together in the middle to develop the right program to satisfy your customer, right? I would ask all customers to do a quick evaluation of their fleet, of what they've got today, right? And they lay down some important criteria for them as a company, right? And what do I mean by that? Well, what's important to them around service SLAs based on experiences they may have? What's going to help them be a little bit better? What are their problems? Maybe they're handling a lot of IT support questions, right? Okay? These are the things that they have to kind of put down on paper. And then what I would recommend from there is I would then make sure that the contract vehicles that they have access to align with what they're trying to do in managed print, which most of them, if not all of them, should. Okay, but which ones they want to partake in, right? And then I would then make some steps to see who those vendors are that are associated to those contracts. And then I'd reach out to those vendors and have what I call an exploratory conversation, meaning, hey, we're thinking of looking into a new managed print program. We'd like to see how your offerings and or your services can help us get to a point of efficiency that we would like to see within our print fleet environment. That's basically it. Very simple. And then from there, these vendors will come in, as they should, ask a few more questions, and then put together a proposal on how and what they can do to help deliver on the company's requirements.
And obviously, when you're talking about HP, you are talking about, and I love the tagline that you guys just adopted, America's most trusted printer brand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there has to be something behind it. You can't make a claim like that without having something behind it, because just giving other people the ability to shoot holes in something like that is way too tempting in today's world. So how do you back up that claim?
Well, I think a lot has to do with being an innovative leader, right? And the innovation and the technology that HP's delivered for many years, dating back since our inception, I think that's where the trust came back. or the trust has started. I don't think I may have said this to you in our previous conversations, but we hold the leadership position in print devices in the world. There's just a lot of HP printer devices out there, more so than any other vendor. And, that is a testament to the type of product, the comfort level of individuals and businesses with our product on how and what we deliver in the print space. So I think that has a lot to do with, the HP overall when it comes to print.
Right. And then obviously the sustainability. I know HP is big on sustainability. Daily is big on sustainability.
Sure.
We're an HP sustainability partner. And so just bringing that along the line, like you said before, you can see what you're saving, not just in dollars and cents, but you're talking about multiple ways that you could be much more conscious of how you're affecting our environment by utilizing these devices.
One of the things that I really respect and appreciate working with HP, right? Working for HP and bringing the technology to market through Daily and through to the end customer is the sustainability practices that we've had in place. You talked about sustainability. We are a leader. We intend to be the most just and sustainable company in the world. That is an objective of ours. And one of the things that I've liked that in the approach that HP's taken from a logistics standpoint to really look at what we can do from a logistics and packaging standpoint on all our products, right? To become more sustainable, all right? Another wonderful thing that we do is that we really utilize recycled plastics in our print toner, all right, that we produce today. That has recyclable plastics in it. We do the same thing with ocean plastics. I don't know if you saw the clip on Rick on ocean plastics and what HP does regarding ocean plastics to recycle that and use that in our technology today, whether it's PCs or printers.
No, I have seen that video, and I have to say that's impressive because a couple of years ago nobody had any idea what ocean plastics was.
That's right.
It wasn't even a term, and now, I mean, my kids come home and that's what they're talking about in their science class, and that's what their friends are talking about, and then suddenly I make sure that I give the milk bottle an extra scrub before I put it in the recycle bin because I want to make sure that it doesn't just end up either in the landfill or getting tossed off the side of a boat because it's, quote unquote, dirty plastic.
Yeah, I do the same. I and that's why I give HP a lot of credit for kind of leading me down that path and showing me just what I can do to help not only the community but the world in general. So it is a pretty strong commitment, and HP's stepping to the plate.
And we are very appreciative of that. Chris, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Yeah, two things, right? One of the things I wanted to assure those that are considering an MPS program is to make sure that they understand the technology that they get right out of the box. One of the things that HP does deliver for them is that security, whether you have your own security and IT team or you don't, depending on the size of your organization. We've taken that same technology and concepts in our PCs. We brought them to the printers and the MFPs, and that's the way we deliver them through Daily to you as a customer. And then last, I think that, one of the things that I find very interesting is the partnerships that HP has. And I think it's critical for any customer to select the right partner. And when I mean the right partner, I mean organizations like a Daily who really put an emphasis on customer first, and things that we're talking about, whether it's in PC around innovative technology and services, but also print in terms of managed print services. I think that every customer should consider Daily as an organization that can deliver on the requirements around the SLAs, the efficiency requirements that customers have, and deliver it to meet all of the expectations an organization has.
And we certainly do our best to live up to that reputation. And I do know, having worked with our managed print team, they are always ready, willing, and able to go in, have those conversations with the customer, explain to them what they could be saving, make sure that they're putting them at ease, that they're getting the right device for the right reason, and that it's going to do exactly what they need it to do. And most of all, it's going to save. It's going to save them money. It's going to save them time. It's going to save them effort. It's going to be more efficient. It's going to be more effective.
I agree, Rick. And like I said, it's, where we were to where we are today. All of the things we talked about today are components of the best possible managed print offering.
Yeah, it's really amazing to look at I'll coin a phrase here, at the printvolution that has happened.
I like it. Can I use that?
You may have that. That is my gift to you, my friend.
Well, thank you.
Well, Chris, and again, we want to let everybody know that's listening, if you have questions, all you need to do is reach out to your daily representative. We are always just a phone call away from Chris so that we can get his take on these things, get him to weigh in on everything, and then, again, get you set up with exactly the managed print solution that you need. Chris, thanks so much for joining us on the Technology Pulse. This was great, and we got to have you back again sometime.
Anytime. I look forward to it, and I really appreciate the time today. You have a great day.
You too, the same. Thanks again.
And that wraps up another insightful episode of the Daily Technology Pulse podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Before we sign off, we want to take a moment to remind you of some important legal considerations. The views and opinions expressed by guests on the Daily Technology Pulse podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Daily Computers or its partners. The content provided in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional advice. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of Daily Computers Inc. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can find us at www.daly.com. The Daily Technology Pulse podcast will be back with more exciting discussions on the latest in technology. Until next time, stay curious and stay connected.